And now, it really is my distinct honor and pleasure and privilege to bring to the podium Governor Terry Branstad. And some may say that he actually has written the book on renewable fuels. And I have to tell you a little story. I'm in class the other night and we're doing a case study, and they referenced Governor Branstad in the case study. And it's about the renewable fuels industry and talking about Iowa being the first in the nation caucus. And his comment was, well, as these candidates come to Iowa, they better be ready to talk about renewable fuels. So, you know, not only has he written the book, he's in the book. So with that, we're so fortunate to have his experience, his leadership, and really the courage to make the decisions that he has made. And it's made a significant difference in the state of Iowa and really poised us for great growth moving forward. So with that, please stand and give our governor a warm welcome, Governor Terry Branstad.
Thank you, Kim, thank you. Wow, thank you very much, Kim. I'm really fortunate to have a great partner. Lieutenant Governor and I really work together as partners. We go to every county in Iowa every year, and I've met my match in terms of energy, enthusiasm, and passion to serve the people of Iowa. And I also want to say we got here early enough to really hear Monty Shaw's presentation and the slides. And Monty, I want you to know we want those slides because they really put the facts out in a very understandable way. There's a lot of lies and misinformation, especially on the East Coast and West Coast, and we in the Midwest have to fight for this industry, which is so important. Having been governor during the farm crisis of the 80s, I know the difference between a strong renewable fuels industry and when we didn't have it. And we don't want to go back to those bad old days. We want to continue to grow the state's economy, and I think the information about the good decisions that farmers have made and how we have actually done, because of better incomes, been able to reduce runoff and pollution and all of those things. That's a powerful message that needs to get across. It needs to get across to the newspaper that's published in Des Moines. It needs to get across to the media on the East Coast and the West Coast, because we've got to correct the misinformation and let the American people and the people in the world know how important it is in this great agricultural heartland of America, where we can grow the food and we can help provide the fuel and the fiber for our country and for the world and for this world population. I want you to know that I'm proud of the fact that Iowa is the leading corn-producing state. We're the leading soybean-producing state. We're the leading ethanol-producing state. And you know, we are gaining ground in cattle too. We're gaining ground in cattle because of renewable fuels and because of distillers' dried grain, because of DDGs. I'll just give you a personal example of my brother and 3 nephews. When I grew up on our family farm, it was a relatively small operation. But I want you to, and we had less than 100 head of cattle. They now have about 5,000 head of cattle. They have a cow-calf operation, but even bigger, a feeding operation, and they raise a lot of corn and they sell it to ethanol plants, and they get DDGs back that they feed to the livestock. We also have a number of they do not raise hogs, but they have arrangement with many of the hog producers in the area to get fertilizer for raising the crops. The result is they now have an operation that is very competitive, and they're able to, and they've been able to bring 3 of my nephews back. One graduated from Iowa State, one went through the ag program at Iowa Lakes Community College, and the other one went through business at UNI. And it's a pretty exciting thing to see that family farming operation and how significant and competitive it is today. And that sort of thing is replicated across the state. And that's the reason why Iowa is in the strong economic position it is. And I guess I'm probably in as good a position as anybody because I was governor during the 80s when land values dropped 63% and we closed 38 banks. And now, because we have a vibrant, growing agriculture and also all the opportunities, just in the last year, 2 big investments, since we're the leading corn-producing state, 50% of our nitrogen fertilizer is imported from overseas. But we have had two big investments, one down in Lee County, Orascom, $1.4 billion investment in a plant that's going to make nitrogen fertilizer. And then CF Industries up in Woodbury County, $1.7 billion. And that may not be the end of it. We may even see more of those kind of significant investments here. That's on the input side. What an opportunity. I was told last night, we went to the reception for the folks from Southeast Iowa, their economic, and they said they thought the construction jobs were going to be 2,500. No, it's going to be 3,500. 3,500 jobs in construction in the area that has the highest unemployment in the state over the next 3 years. And for you, many of you, as farmers and ag producers, you know what the cost of nitrogen fertilizer is, and you know the biggest component of that is it's natural gas. And now because of fracking, that's more competitive in this country, and it makes sense for us to produce it here in the state of Iowa. And now, the estimate I think Iowa Farm Bureau made with just that first nitrogen plant, it's going to reduce the cost of production by $740 million a year. $740 million a year. So just as we work to bring more good jobs to the state of Iowa, we recognize that 41 ethanol plants and the biodiesel plants we have in Iowa are a very important part of that. I'm really proud to personally be an investor, and those of us that have made investments, some of them have done well, some of them haven't done so well, but I'm proud to have taken the risk to be part of supporting as a personal private citizen this industry and how important it is to our state and to our country as we compete in this world economy. And obviously the E15, we've tried to position the state of Iowa to be a leader in that. I want us to do all that we can. Monty, I want to make my personal commitment to say that first and foremost, I've got a very focused agenda, and property tax relief for all class of property is at the top of that list. I've told the legislature I won't even consider anything in terms of motor fuel user fees until that's done. But if we get that property tax relief done, and I know the cities and counties want it with us, we have put together a plan that's going to protect them. They're going to lose revenue because the state's going to replace dollar for dollar the property tax reduction that we put in place. But I want to be able to look people straight in the eye and say, your taxes are going down, not up. Even if you have to pay, but if we get the property tax reduction, then we can look at the motor fuel user fee. But we need to look at it in the context of how it can also be an incentive to help this renewable fuels industry grow and for Iowa to continue to be the leader in that. So that's the way we're going to look at this. We need to do the property tax reduction first, then we can work on this as well. If we do it the right way, it can be a win-win for everybody. And we can help reduce the tax burden, make Iowa competitive, bring more jobs here, and at the same time, provide some of the additional revenue the cities and counties and the DOT need for our infrastructure of our state. It's an exciting time to be governor of an agricultural state. But we know that we're up against a lot. Big oil has got a tremendous amount of money, and as you've seen, 100 years of subsidies. And yet, you know, I've had many a meeting with the Wall Street Journal, and I agree with them on a lot of things, but they have been dead wrong on renewable fuel for the last 40 years. And I'm not going to give up on trying to turn them around because they need to know the facts. And I think the facts are on our side. And what's happened in the cattle industry in Iowa is a good example of the benefit of this renewable fuel industry, because having that protein that's available to feed to our livestock is all of a sudden made states like Iowa and Nebraska much more competitive than Texas and Oklahoma as a place to raise cattle. And that, and it's not just cattle, because that also can be part of the mix in terms of feeding poultry and hogs and as well. So I just think that we have a great opportunity. I want you to know how important this industry is to our state. You all know what it's done in terms of farm income and the value of farmland. And having been governor when everything was going the other direction, it's a lot more fun now, I can tell you that. Renewable fuels in 2011, that's the latest figures I have, provided 82,000 jobs in the Iowa economy, provided $3.7 billion in household income in our state. The industry has has had $6 billion in revenue, and this is very important to our state. I want you to know, the Lieutenant Governor and I are committed to being your partners, working with you in helping this industry to meet the challenges. I agree. I think 2013 is going to be a very challenging year, and it could well be a decisive year as to whether we continue to grow this industry or whether or not big oil turns us in a negative direction. Honestly, I don't think we can afford to go back to the bad old days of the past. I think we've got to continue, and that's why this fight for renewable fuels, the IRFA standard, is critically important, and we want to do all that we can, working with our congressional delegation to make sure that that standard stays in place and that we can continue to grow this industry. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to serve in this capacity, and I want you to know, just as I took a very strong and forceful position to defend the beef industry when it was unfairly attacked with lies and smears about lean, finely textured beef, I will fight just as hard for renewable fuels against the lies and smears and misinformation that we're going to be facing as we work to keep the renewable fuel standard. Thank you very much.